Hello guys, we're going to solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. So let's go. So the quadratic equation, we're going to start with a really simple one. It's x squared plus 8x plus 12, and it's already set equal to 0. So piece of cake, right? And the quadratic formula states this, that the solutions to a quadratic equation will be equal to the opposite of the b value plus or minus the square root of the quantity b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by the product of 2 times a. All right. So what probably the very first thing after having a quadratic set equal to 0 is we need to discover a. So a is 1 here. B, I'm capitalizing them. I should have kept them lowercase. B is 8, and C is 12. So I know my A, B, C values. Okay, 1, 8, and 12. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert each of these values into the quadratic formula, like this. Like this. Okay, so opposite of 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 12 divided by 2 times 1. So I just filled in every number where it was supposed to go depending on its letter. All right, and now let's simplify. So I have x equals the opposite of 8 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, 8 squared is 64. And 4 times 1 times 12 is 48. So I'm taking away 48. 64 minus 48. All right. And this value under this radical is known as the discriminant. All right. And 2 times 1 is 2. And now let's clean it up a little bit more. So this is still opposite 8 plus or minus, let's see, the square root of 64 minus 48. 64 minus 48 is 16. So this is the square root of 16 all over 2. All right, so now you're seeing it's getting a little bit cleaner. All right, let's simplify the square root of 16. The square root of 16 is just 4. So I have x equals the opposite of 8 plus or minus 4. This means there's two options. You have negative 8, you can add 4, or you can subtract 4. All right, and all divided by 2. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this ratio up into two different problems, the adding 4 and the subtracting 4. So I can say negative 8 plus 4 divided by 2, and negative 8 minus 4 divided by 2. So let's see. Negative 8 plus 4, that is negative 4. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. X equals negative 2. All right. And the next one, negative 8 minus 4, that's negative 12. So negative 12 divided by 2, that's negative 6. Negative 6. Looks like fun? I don't know. The moral of the story, I would say, because substituting this and just being careful, you can get it every time. But I would say the moral of the story is this. Do you remember how to factor? Do you? Because if you do, then let me give you some good news. Life becomes a lot easier because you realize that this is really just x plus 6 times x plus 2. And if that's x plus 6 times x plus 2, then that means the solution of the equation set equal to 0 will be the roots. So x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 2 in a fraction of the time. Negative 6 and negative 2 are my solutions. So quadratic formula is useful. It works every single time, but it's more important to also know which strategy should you be using based on the values that the quadratic has. In this case, factoring would have been a lot easier.